Okay, now it's time for Aunt Mimi. 5th seeded Aunt Mimi against 12th seeded Frida Kelly. Whew. Who's it going to be? I don't know. Aunt Mimi, Frida Kelly. Good old Frida. I've never heard anyone say good old Aunt Mimi.
Fuck Aunt Mimi.
Yeah, Aunt Mimi's 7 seeds higher than Frida Kelly.
So, TJ, you just said, fuck Aunt Mimi. Okay, let's hear it. What you got?
She's the only one in the world who discouraged John Lennon from playing guitar.
That is true.
You'll never make a living off of it.
She remembers, for example, buying him his first guitar.
Well, I'd battled against it, for quite a long time.
Why?
Well, I didn't want him wasting his college time and missing lectures by wasting his time playing the guitar. Whereas his training would lost. These things come and go. They're playing a guitar 1 week, everybody's clamoring for them, then they disappear. Nobody ever hears of them again.
The guitar's all right, John, but you'll never make a living out of it. That was something Mimi said to John, and he put it on a silver plaque and gave it to her. It was with her until she died. In 1991, Mary Elizabeth Stanley is her name, later Smith. She's John's surrogate mother, right? Here's the thing. She's the woman that raised John while Julia was off doing her own thing. While Julia was off being basically John's dad, like a merchant seaman, just like doing her own thing. It's a funny setup. It should be noted that Aunt Mimi reported Julia to social services twice, and that's how she was able, or at least persuaded, to give John up.
And
Aunt Mimi
Tony,
had no children. Yeah,
I want to just interrupt for a second here because obviously the fuck Aunt Mimi was meant to be comedic because of what she said about, the guitar's all right, John, all that stuff. But I do want to say that, especially when John's mom was gallivanting, but after her death, after she had been killed not far from their home, is when I think Aunt Mimi really, her discipline and her ability to kind of keep him housed and safe. I do firmly believe that she was a great woman just looking out for the best for him.
It's true, man. Yeah. She was no fun. That's for sure. Julia was fun. Aunt Mimi was just, posture and whatever, she wanted him to make his A-list and do all the British things so he could, she worried that he was going to become, like his dad, which, his dad was kind of a marauding, whatever, drunk.
Yes.
Who liked to sing songs at bars or what. He's John Lennon's dad's one of the guys at the end of the bar, like.
How come Tottenham always beats Liverpool when I'm with a woman that ain't my wife? In the loo.
Yeah, so she's trying to keep this wild, kooky kid in line. And one of the things she did do is she encouraged him to read and supported his appetite for reading. And I think that's the reason why we have such a wordy, playful John Lennon. That's Aunt Mimi right there.
Aunt Mimi's kind of the original Ben Vereen.
How so?
Well, because she believed in the reading rainbow.
Okay, thank you.
And
like what Ben Vereen movie? I don't know.
And you should have seen Aunt Mimi in Pippin.
Join us, leave your field to flower. Join us, leave your cheese to sour. Join us, come and waste an hour or two.
It should be noted that her last words, Aunt Mimi's last words, were "Hello, John." Yeah. He had a cat named after her, and he telephoned her every week until her death. So John, Mimi was pretty important to John.
Yes.
Good old Frida Kelly.
Good old Frida.
Good old Frida.
There you go. Name checked on the Beatles' 1963 Christmas record. She was the president of the fan club from 62 to 72, man. She did it for a while, then got a quote-unquote real job and continued to do it on the side, until 72.
When Alan Klein killed the fan club. That's why.
For real?
Yep.
beware of Abco.
Good old Frida attended nearly 200 cavern performances, usually on her lunch break. She responded to the Beatles fan mail, and she oversaw publication of the Beatles Fan Club magazine. There's a character on the animated children's series Beat Bugs named after her.
Frida, do you think you'd like a house of your own?
Oh, would you like me to move out?
No!
And of course, obviously, there's that documentary, Good Old Frida. I think it's streaming for free on a lot of platforms.
This story of Frida Kelly's will be one of the last true stories of the Beatles that you'll ever really hear.
I don't know why they picked me. Maybe it was just fate. I was taken along for this 10-year exciting ride.
2013 is when that came out, debuting at South by Southwest. So hipster cred for good old Frida. Tell you what, man, my vote's Aunt Mimi.
Yeah, this felt tricky just because even before I knew who Frida Kelly was, I'd had one of the first Beatle Fest era bootlegs I ever got was the From Then to You, the bootleg Christmas album that had all the flexi discs on one album. And I've had good old Frida when they talk about Frida Kelly in my head since I was a kid. And then seeing that movie, Good Old Frida, what a great film that captures just how cool she was and how she loved the Beatles forever, still does. But Aunt Mimi's presence in terms of ensuring that John didn't go off the deep end during myriad levels of tragedy with his mom, seeing her not be around to her being gone off this earth. I think Aunt Mimi is like one of the most important people in Beatles history. Aunt Mimi.
There you go. There you go. We love you, good old Frida, but it's hard, you know. She went up against the buzzsaw named Aunt Mimi.
That's enough. Thank you. We've had enough.
To her credit, Frida Kelly was reluctant about doing the documentary in the first place. Like, she did not want the fame. She never did a tell-all book. She could have. Like, she turned down all that shit. And once she saw, like, okay, this is going to be of quality and maybe this is something to pass along to my kids or whatever, my legacy, she was on board. So she's good, man. Good for you, good old Frida.
Saw the Beatles and knew the Beatles throughout every high and low in that run.
Well, there you go. Well, Aunt Mimi moves on to the quarterfinals. Now it's time for another brackety matchup with third-seeded Patti Boyd against 14th-seeded Apple Scruffs. This is a collective. Wow, is this fair? No, but let's do it. Patti Boyd, George's muse, early on against this whole team, the Apple Scruffs, the Beatles protectors in the late 60s. This one, I'm going to have a struggle with this one. I mean, Patti Boyd, yeah, she was just at Beatle Fest, the Fest for Beatles fans, excuse me, don't sue us, not long ago. She's still with us. Appeared in Hard Day's Night as one of the schoolgirls. Uncredited. Inspired many a tune for just a couple of groups. Groups like the Beatles, Derek and the Dominoes, George and Eric Clapton's solo. I Need You, If I Needed Someone, Something, For You Blue. Derek and the Dominoes, obviously Bell Bottom Blues. Then, of course, Layla. So Sad, George. Wonderful Tonight, Eric. Golden Ring. The Shape You're In.
Also, Golden Earrings, Twilight Zone.
For real?
Was about Patti, sure.
When the bullet hits the bow. That song?
You said golden ring, and it made me think golden earring.
She's a muse, man. She, Patti Boyd we're talking about. She wrote her own autobiography, Wonderful Today. So that's pretty good. She's up against the Apple Scruffs. I mean, there's so many of them. I'll try and make this quick, but they were a collective, immortalized in song, of course, by George Harrison.
Now I watch you sitting there, seeing the passers-by all stare, like you have no place to go. But there's so much they don't know about Apple Scruffs.
They're not groupies, okay? Let's get that straight, and that's for real. They're not about shagging the Beatles. They were hanging out outside. No screaming was allowed. So they were making sure that happened. They had like membership cards. They had a zine, Apple Scruffs Monthly. So they would, stand outside Apple, Abbey Road, Paul's house at Cavendish. A few of them made it into the studio to sing. Lizzie Bravo and Gayleen Pease sang on Across the Universe.
Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world.
I'm sorry, Tony. Was Lizzie fat?
No, she was Thin Lizzie.
I had to interrupt for
Boys
that.
are back in town. Margot Stevens was their leader, later a caterer and a promotions officer for Apple. Carol Bedford was there. She wrote a memoir, Waiting for the Beatles, an Apple Scruff story. There was an Italian gal, Lucy, who was fixated on George. There was Sue John, who was fixated on John. Kathy was there. Wendy Sutcliffe. Gil Pritchard, she was a hairdresser and later worked at Abbey Road. There's a bunch of them. Oh, yeah, of course. Let's not forget Diane Ashley, the scruff who inspired She Came In Through the Bathroom Window.
That's what I was just going to bring up, my friend.
She came in through the bathroom window, protected by a silver spoon.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably, with all due respect to the Apple Scruff song on All Things Must Pass, She Came Through the Bathroom Window is the best Beatle era commemoration of the Apple Scruffs. And it's such a great tune. The way that sits in that medley, the long one, the build to it, it explodes with the joy that shows how they dug the Apple Scruffs, that they weren't screaming girl nuisances. It's like almost, that's also validation. Yeah, man. So, yes, love the Apple Scruffs. Have you made a vote? Have you made up your mind?
I think I have, man. I think I have.
Give it to me.
I'm going with the Apple Scruffs.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I think that they... Patti did some stuff with the Beatles. She did. But I similar to Jane Asher, I felt like she was more on the outside. She did sing on things like Yellow Submarine. That's her shrieking on Yellow Submarine and doing the crowd vocals. She was also there, with the beautiful people singing All You Need Is Love. But she was not at the rooftop concert. I bet some of the Scruffs somehow... they were at least nearby. They were down there somewhere. My vote's for the Scruffs. I just think that their hearts were more in the Beatle game. No knock on Patti. Patti did her best, to be a Beatle wife. That's it in itself. You're getting attacked by people, namely ladies that weren't Scruffs.
Well, Tony, for various reasons, probably most of which was out of all the strength exuded by the Beatle wives, Yoko and Linda certainly, the strength that Patti exuded. Now, she certainly allowed herself to be in multiple relationships at one time. But her strength...
Like the Beatles.
If you like with the Beatles, you're like the Beatles.
Like the boys.
You like the boys. Yeah. But Patti was able to comport herself in a way that still somehow felt dignified and empowered. And while I don't agree with her actions, Patti Boyd is clearly a strong woman that was so strong that she inspired arguably the best ever composed songs by George Harrison and Eric Clapton. Now, I don't put Clapton on the same pedestal as the Beatles, obviously, but Clapton, whether you love his solo stuff, hate his solo stuff, whatever, Clapton is inarguably one of the greats in the biggest moment of the classic rock era. So, yeah, the fact that she inspired that level of greatness with her womanhood, I'm going with Patti Boyd.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. Patricia Ann Boyd. So that means yes, once again, Casey Baker.
Here we go. Thank you.
It's a Baker breaker.
So, somebody's putting a thumb on the scale back there with his keyboard.
I'm trying to play Baker Street and I can't figure it out.
I followed it. That's good enough. Man, that's a tough call because part of me wants to just say Patti Boyd right away, kind of like I did with Jane Asher, just because, again, that,
Let me ask you this. Would Paul trust Jane Asher to walk Martha on occasion? I don't know, but I know he trusted the Apple Scruffs to do that.
See?
Would Patti Boyd sit around and help Apple stuff the brown paper bag over the Two Virgins cover? I don't know.
See?
Would Patti Boyd have breakfast with Phil Spector on the steps of Abbey Road one morning? I don't know. I don't know, but I know the Apple
killed.
There's something to be said for that idea. There's something in the way that the Apple Scruffs inspire She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, right? They're sort of like taking Beatlemania and refining it. It's like, this is not a screaming girls club. This is people who are devoted, who are chill, who are like actually making their way into the Beatles' inner sphere by actually supporting the band kind of, less fanatically. Although climbing in through a window to steal Paul's pants. But to your point, Tony,
they broke the rule on that one.
They broke the rule, but was received kind of gleefully from Paul, right? Like, to me, there's almost like a nod to them.
Don't talk yourself out of your original instinct, Casey Baker.
If I may leave you with a quote from George Harrison, referring to the Apple Scruffs, their part in the play is equally as important as ours. George Harrison, 1969.
Wow, so he voted Apple Scruffs over Patti Harrison Boyd?
She wasn't at the rooftop.
I'm trying to play Bell Bottom Blues. Is it working?
I love that song.
It's great.
It's a great song. It's got the drums on the one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Cool.
It does have the drums on the one. James Brown. Derek and the Dominoes invented James Brown.
From CBS Football.
I'm so torn over this.
Are you
really
wait, hold on,
want to
Casey,
support the upset here.
We don't have enough drops. Are you torn like Natalie Imbruglia?
Jesus. Okay, but you know what? YOLO, come on. It's such a fun story. No shade to Patti Boyd. I'm sorry I missed you at the fest. I had COVID. This one's going to the Apple Scruffs. Scruffs!
Oh, my. Apple Scruffs. I'm not even going to play it for you. I won't do it.
How I love you. Don't worry, I'll do it a cappella. How I love you.
It is a great tune.
Apple Scruffs.
The ASMR Apple Scruffs.
Next up is Maureen Starkey, Mo Starkey against Chris O'Dell. So Maureen Starkey, 4th seeded, and Chris O'Dell, unlucky 13. Or is it lucky? I don't know. Let's find out. Who do you think?
Well, let's just talk about the songs that were written for each of them. Paul wrote Little Willow for Maureen, as Maureen was very, very ill.
Bend, little willow, wind's gonna blow you hot and cold tonight.
George wrote Miss O'Dell as a giggling B-side.
The record player's broken on the floor. I'm back at Miss O'Dell.
Yeah. Great song. Both are great songs. Both are great songs. Two different shades of, emotion.
Also, Sinatra wrote a parody of The Lady is a Tramp for Maureen.
Yes, on her 22nd birthday.
Yeah, that I don't know that I've ever heard. I didn't Google it because I'm going to go research the microfiche at my local library tomorrow when they open. But I don't got a QR code to tell me everything, guy. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big deal, getting Sinatra to sing a song about your wife.
There's no one like her, but no one at all. And as for charm, hers is like wall to wall. She married Ringo, and she could have had Paul. That's why the lady is a champ.
Yeah, the lyric, she married Ringo and she could have had Paul. That's why the lady is a champ.
It's great.
Now, Paul famously thanks Maureen Starkey at the end of Get Back. But George also thanked Maureen in his own way later on. Yes, they were discovered in bed together, unfortunately. Well, whatever. I mean, so Maureen had an affair with George for a brief moment. to which John said that was like incest. But she bagged 2 of the Beatles. She bagged half of the Beatles, man. That's pretty wild.
50%. You've heard Bilbo Baggins. Jeez. 50% Beatle Baggins.
And Sinatra says she could have had 75%.
Well, if we're counting Clapton, I mean, Patti got 2/5 of the Beatles, so
yes,
they're tied by that metric.
And there's a chance Jimmie bagged Aunt Mimi. Jimmie Nicol, Aunt Mimi, Beatle fanfic.
Oh, Lord. All right. Well, so let's get over to Chris O'Dell, who famously did not get with George. I think George flirted and tried to get Chris at one point, but she was like, no, I'm not getting involved with any of that, because she was tight with Patti. Like, she was pretty tight. She's got a book out, too, of course, Miss O'Dell, named after the song.
That's the only book, by the way, named after a B-side.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I love? I love the Jane Asher book, Give Ireland Back to the Irish Version.
Also, Leon Russell wrote a song about her called Pisces Apple Lady.
Really?
Yeah. Now, hold on. Chris O'Dell was on the rooftop, unlike Patti. She also sings on Hey Jude. She did hand claps on a song she couldn't remember, but thinks it was Revolution 9.
Known for its hand claps.
Known for the funky beat. She's from Tucson, Arizona. It's. She thinks maybe Tucson. That's why that's in the song "Get Back."
Jojo left his home in Tucson, Arizona, for some California grass.
But also, Linda had ties to Tucson as well, so who knows? She was George and Patti's assistant at Friar Park. She helped George during All Things Must Pass, the concert for Bangladesh, the 1974 Dark Horse tour. Yeah. Chris O'Dell against Mo Starkey. I mean, I love Mo.
It's Mo.
I have a crush on Mo. Mo Starkey's cute.
I've got a crush on Mo of the Three Stooges. Nyuk, nyuk.
Oh.
I'm gonna nyuk, nyuk, nyuk me.
But darling. Darling? Oh, I forgot. I thought I was talking to you.
Me? Where do you get that stuff? What are you trying to do?
It's Maureen. I mean, if only because even before I knew who she was, Paul saying thanks, Mo, is one of the great non-musical moments in the Beatles recorded catalog. That, along with the way it opens, I dig a pygmy. The two openings and beginnings really are ubiquitous, and they're not sung. So yeah, I'm going to go with Mo.
Awesome. I love it. All right, let's do our last matchup of the first round, and then we're going to go into lightning rounds after this. It's Cynthia Lennon against Cilla Black. Wow. 2 Liverpudlians against one another. 6th-seeded Cynthia against 11th-seeded Cilla.
I'm outraged by the 6th seed for Cynthia. I'm outraged. You're treating her as bad. The committee, Howard Hessman, is treating her as badly as John did. A 6th seed
then it makes
Cynthia.
sense.
It's way too. We've forgotten Cynthia. Yes, you left her at the train station.
Well, are you saying she's as important as Yoko? I mean, no. Oh, Yoko, oh no.
No. Okay, I don't know where I want her to be, but I do think that she was so important. And talk about dignified. She had to, quote unquote, hide her love away when they weren't allowed to tell people that they were married forever.
Right.
She knew what he was up to on the road. She watched him blow off their son together when he was present and when he was out of mind, out of sight. To quote Wilco, Cynthia took more shit than just about anyone in the Beatles universe while the Beatles were amazing. However, Cilla Black's version of It's For You is my favorite song they gave away, so I'm going for Cilla Black.
Ooh. Curveball.
Hello, this is John Lennon of the Beatles. We'd like to play you a song now that Paul and I have just written specially for Cilla Black. A beautiful girl, a beautiful singer. Hope you like it. Here it is. It's called It's For You.
I'd say someday I'm bound to give my heart away. When I do, it's for you.
Okay. Wow, I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, let me think. Let me do a little thinking. Cynthia Lennon, born Cynthia Powell. We lost her about 10 years ago. Met John in calligraphy class. She came from a more posh upbringing, so John gave her nicknames like Miss Prim and Miss Hoylake, which is where she was from. Yeah. She was there for a lot of stuff. She was like a Beatle character, right? So she visited them in Hamburg, saw the Hamburg Beatles. She accompanied them on the first U.S. tour. She got a taste of that. She was spiked with acid unknowingly, along with John, George, and Patti. And then she went to India, where John wanted to get a different room so he could get postcards from Yoko. But anyway, songs that could be about sin, again, could be. Hard Day's Night, When I Get Home. You can't do that. You're going to lose that girl in my life. There are places I remember. There are people, She wrote 2 memoirs, one in 1978 called A Twist of Lennon, because she was married to someone named Twist at that time.
John Twist.
Oliver Twist.
Thank you.
One boy for sale.
She also wrote years later in 2005 a memoir called John. Okay. So she's a major player. She was there, man. She was there, and she was a lovely lady. I've always thought she was wonderful. Up against, Cilla Black. Cilla Black, Liverpool friend, always a longtime friend of the Beatles. She's an OBE, Also, we lost her about 10 years ago. But yeah, she was the cloakroom attendant at the Cavern. She did her impromptu singing, and that caught the attention of the Fabs. They got her an audition with Brian Epstein, and they backed her up, and they did Summertime, but they did it in their key, not her key. So she failed the audition.
Which version? Was it the Gershwin or was it the Summertime, some? Remember that one? That song's been erased from the face of the earth. You never hear that anymore. When we were growing up, Tony, everywhere. It's summertime, summertime. Casey, do you know this?
I think there was commercials for it.
Oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah, it popped up in commercials.
It's summertime, summertime, summertime. Applebee's summertime, summertime, summer fair. Applebee's summer fair, summertime. Pick 1, pick 2, pick 3. Applebee's triple choice mix and match everything you want to eat.
All right, but here's the thing. Cilla Black, the Beatles gave her songs, right? She eventually got signed by Brian, and then George signed her to Parlophone. Her first single was Lennon and McCartney's Love of the Loved from the Decca audition.
Each time I look into your eyes, I see that the heaven lies. And as I look, I see the love of the loved.
Paul also played piano on another Lennon-McCartney, number 1, It's For You. And then she covered a bunch of Beatles songs throughout her career. Yesterday.
All my troubles seem so far away.
For No One.
The day breaks, your mind aches. You find that all his words of kindness linger on when he no longer needs you.
Across the Universe.
Words are flying out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither while they pass, they slip away across the universe.
And The Long and Winding Road.
The long and winding road that leads me back to your door.
And then Stora mich nicht, the German version of Don't Bother Me. Which I had a hard time finding that.
One of the great tragedies, I think, and I think this was talked about at the time, was that Cilla Black didn't live to hear Now and Then to cover it.
You have an AI, we can make that happen, hopefully. Not we, but we have enough to do, but maybe someone else. Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Photograph. So she was there on the yacht when George, with Ringo, came up with Photograph. And originally, George was going to give that song to Cilla. But Ringo's like, no, mine.
Yeah, and he was right.
Ringo had a crush on her way back in the early 60s and actually asked for her hand in marriage. Obviously, that never happened. But she's commemorated in statue form outside the entrance to the Cavern Club. And this has become very divisive in Liverpool because of Cilla's conservative pro-Thatcher politics.
Oh, no. I changed my vote.
With the way I clapped in.
Maybe I should have gone first, TJ. So my vote is for Cynthia Lennon. I'm not some douchebag.
Well, the one thing I liked about Thatcher is she did her best to starve poor people of resources.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. Can I change my vote? I'm going Cynthia. Although It's For You is my favorite. And I had never heard her version of that. And I've had it on at songs that Lennon and McCartney gave away. So I probably had heard it, just didn't really remember it till we did that episode.
Sure.
And Tony, I love that tune. It just hit me in a way that I don't know. I loved it.
Got to cancel it now, though. Sorry.
Yeah, Cynthia. No debate. I've changed my vote. It's America. This is America. I'll tell you one thing. I don't mean to sound extra topical, but if there's one thing I can say about Cilla Black, they not like us.
Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not ever go to Cell Block 1. To any that talk to him and they in love, just make sure you hide your little sister from them.
I liked Halftime. I thought it was great. I want to be very clear. I like that it made people mad, too.
Oh, wow. That was a huge first round. I think we really sliced through that. Now it's time to go into double time here. It's our quarterfinals. We got to get down to the nitty gritty. Let's do it. Astrid Kirchherr against Yoko Ono. What do we think?
Well, I'm just glad to see that someone from Germany and Japan can be in the same bracket together in this day and age. Is that topical?
Sure.
Every year we celebrate B-Day, and that's Beatles Day. I am going to go with Yoko Ono.
I got to give it to Yoko, too, man. She sang that line on Bungalow Bill, and that's probably where I fell in love with Yoko.
His mommy butted him.
Not when he looks so fierce.
Yeah, she gets her own line. She gets a spotlight. It's beautiful. Next up, oh boy, Aunt Mimi against Mo Starkey. Wow. What do you think of this? This is class warfare, man, because Aunt Mimi didn't like anybody that was hanging around from a lower class. You know, John he was one little class, like maybe a half a class higher than the rest of the Fabs. And Mo's definitely working class. That's why she got with Ringo, who was, barely even educated with all his hospitalizations and crap. My vote goes to Mo Starkey. I just love Mo, so.
Yeah, I'm going with Mo Starkey, too, because, even though, like we said before, Aunt Mimi was wonderfully strict, I don't like strict matriarchs.
You gotta let it all hang out. You gotta let your hair down. You gotta rock out like Maureen does during Get Back when she's dancing in the control room. You gotta do it. You gotta have 2 Beatles. You gotta bag 2 Beatles, maybe 3. If Sinatra's in the room.
Sinatra did call something the greatest Lennon and McCartney song.
He did. He's an authority, man. He's the boss, not the boss, the chairman of the board. Chairman of the BORED. Snoozy arrangements. Next up, Cynthia Lennon against the Apple Scruffs. Wow. Who are you voting for, Tej?
Well, Cynthia, since you gave me some bad information, I will tell you that before Cynthia died, she's a 9/11 truther. So I'm making that up.
Yeah,
slander.
Julian's gonna sue us.
Okay, I'm going with Cynthia Lennon just because of what a strong woman she was during the eye of the storm.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going with the Scruffs because I just love those motherfuckers.
Wow.
Casey.
So Casey, you've got this is a quarterfinal. This is your first quarterfinal Baker Breaker.
Who gets their ticket punched to the Final Four?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna try not to overthink it. I'm overthinking it. What do I do? I tried not to, and then I fell into it. I am going with my gut. I have to go with the Apple Scruffs, I think.
So much misogyny towards Cynthia in the room. Let it be known I'm the lib.
It's interesting that it's misogyny, even though the Apple Scruffs themselves are also women.
Yeah, there were two guys allowed. One was homosexual. I forget if they were both. I don't know.
I'm an inclusive guy. Apple Scruffs.
You guys think it takes a gaggle of girls for strength. I think one lady is powerful alone.
Noted. That's a good point, TJ. I'm gonna reflect on that.
I remember John famously felt that way too. That's why he stayed with Cynthia dutifully his entire life.
All right, our final quarterfinal matchup. Oh boy, I don't like this term, but I heard someone say it. Cat fight. Oh boy, Jane Asher versus Linda McCartney. Wow. Both muses of Paul McCartney. Sir Paul, which girl do you go with?
Who do you think Paul would pick?
Well, the lovely Linda.
That's pretty. Linda in a heart.
But no, I mean through the lens of influence on the Beatles. Like answering this question, not just who he would pick as a partner, obviously, but like.
Well, if we're talking strictly Beatles, then that would be Jane because, Linda didn't come around till Get Back, basically, She was backstage at the Shea Stadium concert, and 67, I believe, is when she kind of, met the guys. Here's the thing. Can I say this about Jane Asher? She does not want to talk about Paul McCartney. Like
never has.
Yeah. She's like, that was the past. That's not who I am. And that's true to her game this whole time with the Beatles. Like, she wanted to be her own person. I already said that earlier, but this speaks to that. Like, no, I am not the Beatles. I am not the shadow of Paul McCartney. I am my own person. So if we're doing Beatle bracket, I'm voting Linda.
This is very difficult for me because of the immense respect I have for Linda McCartney. But you know who else I have immense respect for? My podcast partner, my good friend Tony Mendoza. Oh. And Tony Mendoza's theory on this, if I may, tell me if I'm wrong, is that this is about influence while they were Beatles. And given there's what I struggle with is Linda McCartney after John Lennon, and obviously other than Paul's kids, is the most important creative influence in Paul McCartney's life. Yeah. Jane Asher wasn't that, but Jane Asher inspired some of the greatest Paul songs during Paul's most classic Beatle period, and given that as a thesis for this exercise, I've got to go with Jane Asher.
Wow. Okay, so we're up for another quarterfinal Baker Breaker.
I gotta say, recently on YouTube, I shared this on the Discord. I found a 4K upscaled video of Wings' Rock Show from 1980, which we should do an episode on that.
Yeah, Rock Show's rad.
Rock Show is rad.
I saw the reissue at the Century in Evanston about 10 years ago when they put it out on DVD and all that.
So cool. Seeing, just Wings at the height of their power. And I really fell in love with Linda again. And so I was like really prepared to be like, I gotta recency bias of being in love with her right now. I got to go with Linda. However, TJ, you just swayed me. I think your monologue is correct. I think I love Linda. She's a bigger part of my life, but I don't know that she's a bigger part of the Beatles' life. And I can't do that to Jane. So I think Jane takes this one.
Wow. Whoa.
Wow.
An upset.
Finger pie. Send it in, Norman Shake. These are March Madness terms, but I don't know what they mean.
For a fish, glass onions, baby.
For a fish. Okay, Jane Asher. Wow. So there goes your why is Linda McCartney not ranked number 1?
Yeah, TJ, you really undermined yourself there, bud.
It was all I'm doing is asking the hard questions. If you guys paid any more attention to Pat McAfee, he's got a bad reputation. Me and Pat are just asking questions. Why fluoride? Anyone have an answer? Just asking.
I will say fluoride Wednesdays in elementary school, I hated it. But you know what? I'm glad I experienced it.
Was that a thing?
What is that?
Yeah. It was a little Daisy cup, filled up with a little bit of fluoride, and it was the first thing you did on Wednesday morning, and you swished it around for 15, 30 seconds, whatever it was, and then you spit it back out.
I have not heard of that. This is
really?
This is some real Gen X shit.
Did you do that, TJ?
I did, only I would swallow. We've really devolved.
Well, holy shit, we are in the semifinals. It's down to the final 4, guys. And it's 4 fine ladies and a collective of ladies. We've got Yoko, Maureen, the Scruffs, and Jane Asher. Well, let's do this. Let's go. Let's do this. Jane Asher against the Scruffs. Who do we got?
Jane Asher.
Jane Asher?
Yeah.
No. Scruffs.
Why the quick reaction?
Because she, I've already said it, she had more influence on a greater number of great Beatles songs than the Scruffs did on great Beatles songs.
Yeah.
Maybe I can sway a few things here. Some of the Apple Scruffs attended the 1969 Apple Christmas party.
All right, fine. Apple Scruffs. Tony, you got me.
I hadn't considered Christmas party attendance.
I'm kind of at the bottom of my facts here. Here, let me throw out some more names of Apple Scruffs. Nancy Allen, Chris, Di, Virginia, Danny. I don't have last names.
I wonder if it was Virginia McCaskey who just pulled a she-gon, the matriarch of the Bears.
My vote's the Scruffs, and I'm standing by it. It's time. It's a Final 4 Baker Breaker.
Oh gosh, the Baker Breaker going into the final round. Oh, this is not even close. It's absolutely Jane Asher.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
You guys are
rode with
bonkers.
the Scruffs, but I think Jane's got to go.
You've let your hatred of Jane's addiction get the best of you, Tony.
That's right, Tony.
No, you're right. Jane Asher, the woman who does not want to talk about the Beatles for the last 60 years.
That's credibility is what it is, right?
Yes.
Like, she wants nothing to do with the Beatles. She should be the 8th Beatle.
She's a respected actor of screen and stage. She's got her own story.
Here's something that Jane Asher never did. Jane Asher never put out vegetarian microwavable food like Linda McCartney did. And I ate those things up like a motherfucker in the desert.
You should have presented that last round.
But it wasn't when the Beatles were the Beatles. Yeah, exactly. I'm going off your theory of who had more of an impact on the Beatles.
I think that's legit.
Okay. Jane Asher moves into the final round. I can't believe it. Wow. I just got an email from the committee. They are pissed off. The Beatle Committee and Sewing Circle, we're going to make you a very pointed sweater, TJ.
I'll wear it.
All right.
I'll wear it with pride.
All right. We are in our final 4. It's Yoko against Mo. Wow. Yoko Ono and Maureen Starr. Wow.
Starkey, please. Excuse me. She did not take his stage name.
That's true. She didn't.
Ding, Casey. Ding, 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 baby.
Throwing it out there.
I tell you what, though. John Lennon took Ono as his middle name, so he did that. What else? Grapefruit inspired John's Imagine. She coined the phrase, woman is the... I did not say that, for the record. I did not say that. However,
we'll see
edit
how the
this.
edit goes. I'll decide whether or not you said it.
I did not say it. But she's the one who coined that phrase. And TJ, just for you alone, that gives you so much mileage on this show for bringing it up. Against Maureen Starkey, who, we can't say this enough, banged 2 of the Beatles.
And got thanked on record.
Guys, I have my eye on the long game. I think we can't do Yoko dirty. Maureen Starkey is super important and obviously a worthy contender, but it's got to be Yoko Ono.
Thank you. Yes. So Yoko advances to the final round. We are here. It is the championship. We are deciding the 8th Beatle. You know, we've had George Martin, Brian Epstein, Billy Preston, and now who's it going to be? Is it going to be Yoko Ono, a woman who is there and is still the caretaker for the Beatles' voice, John's voice, and Apple Core? You know, she's contributed so much to the myth, the legend, and the legacy of the Beatles. Or Jane Asher, Paul's girlfriend for a couple of years, who wants nothing to do with the Beatles anymore.
Would you do me a quick favor, Tony, because I believe in the FCC's equal time, and that's why I think it's a joke the libs won't let Trump's host Showtime at the Apollo. Now, would you please read me the list of songs that you believe Jane Asher inspired without any other commentary?
Sure. All my loving, and I love her. Things we said today, every little thing, what you're doing. We can work it out. You won't see me. I'm looking through you, here, there, and everywhere, for no one.
Those are some of the most. Those songs are so important. Paul redid them on Broad Street. How's them apples, Scruffs?
Those are tasty apples. Those are Langston's Superb apples. Even Langston's Superb. How about this? Happiness is a Warm Gun. Ballad of John and Yoko. I want you, she's so heavy. Don't let me down. Oh, Yoko, dear Yoko, just like starting over. Woman. Imagine. Did I mention woman is the... I did not say it.
Hey, if John loved Yoko so much, how come he ain't write Angela about her?
Here, this will sway you. Yoko Ono was on an episode of Mad About You.
Give us a chance.
That's all we are saying.
Okay, here's the reason I want to vote for Jane Asher. It's like the reason I respect Steve Bartman so much. Because they know when to just kind of shut up and keep going on with their lives. But in fairness, the bit part of me wants to vote for Jane Asher. The actual Beatle fan in me is obviously casting my vote for Yoko Ono, who does sing, for better or for worse, on... You can hear her voice on a few Beatles songs, I'll put it that way.
Birthday, yeah. She's on the cover of the Ballad of John and Yoko's, 45.
And her bush is on the cover of a long-playing album that a lot of people bought and nobody played.
Right, and the Apple Scruffs helped, pack up in that brown paper bag.
Because I love the band Bush, and because of the Two Virgins album, that's the only reason Bush sways it. I'm going to go for Yoko Ono.
Wow, we did it. Oh, my God. Yoko Ono rises to the bracket most of the cracket most. In this March Madness, it's the Untitled Beatles Podcast, 8th Beatle Bracket, Yoko Ono. Cut the, what do you...
Cut the stockings off the woman, I think, is what you do to celebrate.
Cut the stockings off of the Channing.
Well, yeah.
Cut the clothes off Yoko.
Yeah, like they did in that, like they did in that autodestructive art she was doing in the mid-'60s. Yes, cut up Yoko's clothing and hang it on the basketball hoop. We did it, guys. Yet again, thank you, everyone who made it this far. Cheese and onions, Big North Knockwurst. We did it.
Casey, any final thoughts?
My only final thought is that despite all the bits, we really should do a deep dish into Yoko. She deserves the roses, and her influence on the Beatles' music and on John and the latter era of the Beatles' music is undeniable. And she's been in the running for 5th, 6th, and 7th Beatle. And I'm so glad she's finally getting her victory lap here.
I have 2 things to suggest. One, either go back and listen to or maybe to buy us some time, we have a rerun of our second episode ever, which I believe is of approximately Infinite Universe.
Yeah, I want to say it's second or third, whichever episode. Very early episode where, we did a deep dish on that double LP from the early 70s. My favorite Yoko record.
Correction, it was actually your fourth episode. It might be hard to find buried in the podcast feed, so, dutiful robot assistant that I am, I've made it available at untitledbeatlespodcast.com/Yoko.
The last thing I'll say is, in the spirit of March Madness and in the spirit of Hello Friend Jim Nance, we now want to pay tribute to Yoko Ono as we close with one screaming moment.
It is time to make dreams a reality. Don't you just love this time of year?
This is why we love March.
Congratulations, Yoko Ono.
March Madness magic.
What an atmosphere we have here.
Such a fantastic time of year. You guys ready to dance?
The ball is tipped, and there you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star in all the years. No one knows just how hard you work.
Untitled Beatles Podcast. Like and subscribe.
She did hand claps on a song she couldn't remember, but thinks it was Revolution 9.
Known for its hand claps.
Known for the funky beat.
Number 9, number 9, number 9.